Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
So, congratulations on the film. Tell us a little about how the story came about. I know it was part of South by Southwest, and you met Richard Linklater, or
Yeah, so actually it's funny, before I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Linklater through the artist lab that I did, his film Boyhood actually was a big inspiration for me. Early on, when I was in the early stages of writing the screenplay, I had gone to a screening of it at the IFC Center. And it was, the movie blew me away. It's such a masterpiece of unique cinema. And I started thinking, well, if I were to write a movie about girlhood, what would that look like? And so I started thinking about, reflecting on my adolescence and my friendships. And I had spent a lot of summers as a, adolescent and a teenager away in summer camp, where we were kind of just away from adults and really kind of lost in our own world. Of course, we had counselors and supervision, but it really was an opportunity for us to kind of feel free of adults watching us and listening to us all the time. And so initially, when I started writing the film, it was just a conversation between two friends and then grew into a bigger story.
how unusual was it, the friendship between Emily and Sammy? They
I
come from
don't,
different backgrounds, and but
yeah,
they become friends. Not they don't have to be from the same area or backgrounds or ideology, I guess. So.
I think a lot of friendships at that age, especially, first of all, it's like I had one of our executive producers, when she read the script, she goes, when you're that age, you can just smell who you want to be friends with, and it doesn't matter where they come from, what they look like, how different or similar your backgrounds are. You just know. And I think about it as an adult now. A month goes by and I can't even know what happened, right? It's like it just goes. Meanwhile, I used to go away for 2 months of the summer and it felt like an eternity, right? You could make friends with somebody in 2 days and they were suddenly your new best friend. I think the compelling part of Sammy and Emily's friendship is that they on the surface they're very different, um, but I think that they both help each other understand parts of the world that they're curious about but don't understand. And I think that's pretty typical of friendships, particularly with young people.
I think the friendships get so deep because, in a way, when we are adolescents, we're isolated in a world that is only ours and nobody else understands. Plus, during the summer, we're led to be whoever we want to be. So that creates a great bond and a great interpretation of reality that could be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you like
even a choice for, like, even the way we shot the film. We Greta, our cinematographer, she got used these really beautiful anamorphic lenses that kind of distort on the edges a little bit, and we thought that was so appropriate for the friendship, where they're just kind of in their own bubble, in their own world, like you're saying, of adolescence.
In your opinion, without giving things away, was there a sexual assault or was there consent? It was not clear for me.
For which character?
For Emily.
You know, we went back and forth on this. Um, I would I would like to leave that up to the audience. However,
Better.
when I was when I was writing the film, a thought that always came over me about both of the girls, and I think that that's what's in a way becomes a similar experience for them, even though they don't realize it, is they want something that they don't. And that was something that was very important to me thematically regarding the film, where especially like that line where Emily says, I'm 15 and my parents are taking me home. They're 15 years old. And so we ascribe a lot of sexual ownership to teenagers, and they're still kids. And that's sort of what the gray area of the movie is all about, is that there aren't really any, I don't see Travis as a villain. I think he behaved badly. And I think what he did was wrong. But it's supposed to create sort of this conversation around, well, should we be sexualizing girls who are so young? And that was the reason for the wardrobe choices that we had, for a lot of the hair and makeup choices that we had. And as you're saying, the ambiguity around that scene, because I think we all need to really be asking ourselves if we should be thinking so sexually about 15-year-old girls.
I totally agree. But in this society, there's more and more, no? We sexualize, or children are sexualized.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very funny. It's not very good.
No, and I mean that was a big part of the way that, like I said, we made the movie. It was an important piece of the storytelling, and there's a reason why, in one pivotal scene, which people will eventually see, I don't want to necessarily give away, but we were very deliberate about how we shot a lot of things, because I didn't feel like I wanted to exploit the girls on film just generally. I mean, there's a lot of power in an image, even when you're trying to make a point. The image lives on beyond what you make. And so I have a responsibility as a filmmaker with any image that I create. Where is it going to live beyond my movie, right? And so that was something that we talked a lot about in the way that the scenes were covered and shot, and just generally, like I said, the girls' performance.
So Rebecca, what would you tell us about the adults in the story?
They don't know what's going on until it's too late.
As always.
Yeah, I mean, both moms were so wonderful, Amy and Kathy. Yeah, I mean, I think that especially, I have a friend who watched the film, an early cut of the film, and she goes, wow, these moms had no idea what was going on. And she goes, especially in that scene where Sammy's mom just starts talking about herself and the day that Sammy's father left. Meanwhile, her daughter has just been through this hellish experience, and she turned around and made it all about herself. And she goes, I think it was so telling about just the whole scenario of the relationships that these daughters have with their mothers.
There was no room for Sammy.
Yeah. And that, I think Amy did such a brilliant job. She's so wonderful. And we had some really cool conversations even before we shot the film, she and I, about this whole world that she kind of grew up in and related a lot to the story.
How complicated was it to create a period piece, 1998? Well, it's a period piece, right?
A lot of long lenses, so things are out of focus. No, I'm kidding. It was hard. I mean, our production designer, Megan, I think she did a phenomenal job. She, no joke, went to her parents' house in Pennsylvania and I think took everything out of their basement and that could possibly be 90s related and brought it in a pickup truck to our set. It was certainly challenging. I think doing it in a more rural area made it easier because, there's nature around. Nature always looks the same. Yeah. We always say the thing about period piece, it's wardrobe, technology, and cars. And everything else you kind of can figure it out, being that it's not, the 1800s, it's the late 90s. So yeah, it was fun.
So wonderful. You're going to New York Film Festival? No. What's happening with the film?
So the film is going to be released on October 1st. It will be in theaters for sure in LA and the New York area. And we've got, I think, between 5 and 10 theatrical markets that we'll be playing in. And then it will be streaming everywhere you could possibly want to stream a movie.